Good morning. Hi, y'all. Good morning. This is Stacy. We are loving my veteran, and this is walking in my shoes this morning. Just want to say good morning to everybody. We're going to start our new series, 2 days, caregiver versus partner. I think this is a big issue that we all have, and we all have to learn to navigate through, is that role between being the caregiver and the partner. I think caregiver is probably my least favorite word that we use to identify ourselves, and so that it's something that I'm kind of stuck to this morning. Good morning, y'all. On this role, so let me. Sorry, y'all. I'm running late this morning. Let me kind of bring everybody up to speed. There is a file that will be posted later this afternoon. I'll send it out if you've signed up for the newsletter. I'll send it out as a blog. It's quite lengthy, but it is a whole thing on caregiver versus partner and a way to work through some of the issues that we have. So you'll have that as a reference point. Because I think it is a big deal that we learn to navigate between the two issues. So we have that. I cannot begin to tell you where the explosion is going here. If you've not been on the group and read Miss Nakia's points to ponder, they are amazing. So she puts those on the group. This week, coming in and through the New Year's, we're going to be revamping our website. So that's a big deal for us to kind of make it more interactive for us. Please sign up for the newsletter. Michelle has graciously decided to take that task on. Yeah, we all have trouble navigating back and forth between those, sister. That is a true fact. So she's going to take on the newsletter part for us. We're welcoming Stephanie to our team. Y'all, please give her a little shout out. She's on the thing. She's going to do Wednesday wellnesses for us and talk about mental health, physical health, emotional health, and tricks on how to be, tips on how to navigate through that and stay healthy through our what we do on a daily basis. There's so much going on. I'm interviewing Jeremy today for Vet Connect. Damon as well, so they'll start coming up next week, and we'll put out a schedule when all these great things are happening. So now that we've gotten to that, let's talk about caregiver versus partner. When we take on this role as getting in a relationship, whether you're married to them or you're their life partner or whatever, we take on this role and we fall in love with these people, and we fall in love with our veterans. And then, as we all know, before long, the ugly head of PTSD shows its double-headed snake side that comes out, and our life changes, and we go to living with somebody that can say hurtful things, that can have rage, that can have anger issues, that can disengage from us. So this person that we fell in love with and we got in a relationship with to do life with, they change, or our view of them changes. And so as we deal with all the things that happen, we find ourselves becoming bitter, and we find ourselves becoming angry, and we find ourselves becoming resentful. And so it is so much easier at times for us just to do things and step into that role of caregiver. And we do that because one, and I know that there are men out here that their wives suffer from PTSD, and I don't mean this to be derogatory towards them, because you can flip it either way. But we become nurturers by nature. That's just what we are. And so we just do, because I think a lot of times we do so that we reduce the conflict in our lives. And the more we do for them, the more this conflict gets reduced, right? And we reduce that conflict in our life. Well, what that does is that puts us in that permanent caregiver role. And when we stay in that caregiver role, we get very resentful, very tired, very angry, very hurtful, because they don't always have that ability to show us back that love and emotion. And so as this navigates through, we're putting all of ourself into it and getting nothing in return. So many people have asked, and I did, I think, 3 one-on-ones yesterday, and they were amazing. So anybody who did the one-on-ones, thank you, because we had a great time. But the theme that tends to rise through this is, how do I get my life back? How do I become this again? So the absolute first thing that I want everybody to think about is, why did you fall in love with them in the very beginning? And again, I'm a visual person. I think that when we have thoughts in our heads, if we don't put them down on paper and make them concrete where we can see them, um, yeah, exactly. When we don't see these thoughts in our head, we don't see them. So if y'all, I'm just telling you to help navigate this system, I want you to take PTSD out for just a minute, stop, and it's going to be very hard. And it may take you a day or two, it may take you a long time to navigate from the resentment and the anger. But I want you to go back to when you first fell in love with them. What was it about them that you fell in love with? What was it that made you want to spend the rest of your life? We didn't go like to some girl. This happens to all of us. Kim said it's like you're in my head. This happens to all of us. So it isn't like we took out an ad, okay? So I don't think any of us on here went and took out an ad on a dating site that said, wanted, veteran with PTSD, must be explosive, must be angry, must have a fear of fireworks, doesn't like being in public, must say hurtful things. We didn't take out that ad. Okay, that isn't what we signed up for. We didn't buy that ad space. So I want you to go back and really think about why you fell in love in the beginning. What was it about him that you loved in the beginning? Now, for some of you, you were in love with your veteran when he was active duty. And it doesn't matter. Some people, their PTSD didn't show up till in the middle of the relationship. Like, oh, things great, we're having a good time. And then, boom, here's like this ugly thing from Anaconda that just shows up. But I need you to really think about, why did you fall in love in the first place? What was it about him that made you fall in love? Because if we don't get to that, if we don't get back to that core, we're never going to go forward. We're always going to live in a life of resentment. We're always going to live in a life of anger. We're always going to live in this life of this caregiver. Yeah, Michelle, I'm going with that in just a minute. Do the veterans see us as caregivers and not partners at times? Absolutely. Because we take so much away and it becomes habit. So, but take this time right now and go, not like right this minute, but figure out why you fell in love. I'm telling you, and y'all know, I came out of a very long marriage that he was very narcissistic. It was always about him. It was always about him. It was always about him. And when I met Carl, we met online. I mean, this is funny. I'm on like a Facebook dating site. And when we first met, it was funny. And we said both of us were going to deactivate our accounts that day. And we found each other, and we texted for a while, and then we talked on the phone for probably a month before I ever met him. And by then, we realized we already had so much in common. I worked EMS, and so we were like in the same area, and he was just west of us. So when the bad weather was coming in and there was a storm, he'd send me a text and say, be super careful, there's a storm coming, and send me the radar, So it was, we had that. And he actually, what I loved about him was his caring, loving, kind heart. His eyes are amazing, but just the way that he was so gentle. And I truly fell in love with that moment. I fell in love with the fact that we created us time, and that was super important to him. That when I had a bad day, he would take me to the beach, and it was just, it was those things. And then, of course, right shortly after, um, yeah, I want my wife, not my nurse. And so, right shortly after that time, he had a bunch of dates come up, and it became like, ooh, where did you take this man that I was in love with? And so we tend to step in. Are there times that we have to take care of them? Yes. Are there times that we have to help them take their medication or make sure it's right? Yes. Are there times when they're triggered that we have to do more? Yes. I go back to Nakia. Richard, her Richard, my Richard as she calls him, and I love it. His physical health has changed. So now she has stepped way into a caregiving role in a way probably none of the rest of us have to go through. This woman is amazing. But when we get into this role of becoming a caregiver, we start to take things away from them that they can do all along. All right? And now it becomes habit. And now it becomes that habit. I want my wife, not my nurse. I want my husband, not PTSD. I want those things. We have to find them. So the hard part for us is learning how to be in that caregiver role when we need to be, and stepping out and being in that partner role, which is where we should be. I go back to normal everyday marriage vows. For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. We are their spouse and their partner in sickness and in health. Girl, we all have moments of sheer fear, but this woman is amazing. She deserves every medal. And the kids on here, she's not amazing. She's amazing. She deserves like the Purple Heart star of spouses. I'm telling you, when you hear her stories, they're amazing. But we have to remember that there are moments of sickness. There are moments of sickness. So when we take this becoming their partner, we don't need to take away from them. We don't need to take that away. So the next step in figuring out where we are in these caregiver roles, sometimes we take caregiver and we do it because it's easier. Right? It's easier. It's easier on days that I want the grass cut and it's not in his mood that day. It's easier for me to go out and start the lawnmower and cut it my darn self, right? Than have this battle about, hey, babe, the lawn needs to get cut. Now, I'm not saying that, Carl does just about anything all the time, but there are days he's just in a place and he doesn't want to cut the grass, and I want the grass cut today because that's just who I am, right? And so it's easier sometimes just to cut the grass, and so then it becomes, she'll do it, right? Or it's easier just to do things. It's easier just to fix dinner. It's easier just to do the dishes. It's easier just to say, don't worry about it, I got it. So we do that because it's easier in the beginning, and we don't want to trigger them. So we're always walking on that eggshell that we don't want to trigger them. And so we become this. Yeah, you can live in a caregiver role on autopilot over the partner role. Marriages are tough. And I'm not talking about PTSD marriages. I'm talking about all marriages are tough. Y'all realize, like, freaking 40% of all marriages fail. 40% of all marriages fail. So when we add PTSD into the mix, we are, like, in a totally different place when we add that into the mix. All right, so we have to be careful in that roles that we take. We have to be careful in those places that we are. So after you've made the list why you fall in love with him, I want you now, this is going to be so weird, But after you've made that list about why you fell in love with him, I want you to go in, and I've got it, it'll be in the stuff that's coming out today. Look at the signs and symptoms of people with PTSD. Okay? So there are true things. They have their restlessness, their sleeplessness, their anger, they're going into a dark place. I mean, they have those, right? We can't fix any of those. We can't take any of those away from them. We cannot fix or cure their PTSD. Accept that, right? Carl, as much as he wants to every day, cannot take away my physical illness. He can't do it. He can't take on lupus and the other autoimmune, and he can't take on the autoimmune hepatitis and the liver stuff that I've got going on. He can't take that away from me. He can't carry that burden. He can't cure that. He can't fix that. Right? But what he does do is on days I can't do something, he does it. And that's the mindset we have to get in. Right? Yeah, love is not a feeling. I like what Roxana said. Love is not a feeling, it's a choice. We have to choose to continue to be in love with them. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. It is. So when you take their PTSD symptoms and list out what happens there. Okay? Yeah, I have. Shannon, it is like horrible. Just make sure she takes her medicine. She says her daughter has autoimmune hepatitis. Make sure she takes her medicine, because somebody told me I was cured and I wasn't, and I had stage 4 cirrhosis. So just always take your medicine. I'm just telling you. Anyway, so we have that. We can't take that away from them. Right? And sometimes because we're the caregiver and we're the nurturer that we become, right? I hear that we don't make them accountable. We don't. Sometimes we do stuff for them and we take stuff away because it's easier, and then they're not accountable for what they have to deal with. They have to deal with the night terrors. We can't take that away from them. They have to deal with the panic. We can't take that away from them. Girl, you can message me later, Shannon, and I will really talk to you about some things I found. I got a mayo. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've got a little off topic here, but we all about a community here. We can't do that. But list their symptoms. List what is going on with them and their PTSD. List the things that they have. So now you have why you fell in love. Now you have their symptoms. Now, here comes the challenging part. List your feelings about how you feel about your relationship. Tough. There are days I feel used. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. There are days I want to know, are you only in this relationship for what I can give you? Okay? Are you only in this relationship for what I can give you? There are days we feel that way. There are days I'm angry. There are days I'm resentful. There are days that I'm madder than hell. There are days I want to scream. There are days I want to do all these things. But if you start making these 3 specific lists, why you fell in love, what the symptoms are, because they're huge, and how you feel, right? So we have all these things laid out now. Then what you're going to see is you go back to that symptom list and you're like, okay, I'm angry. Why am I angry? Am I angry at him, the man I fell in love with? Or am I angry at one of the symptoms of PTSD? Right? Am I resentful to him, or am I resentful to one of the symptoms of PTSD? When you start looking at that, you're going to realize that your anger and your resentment, and when you start doing your anger and resentment list, I'm here to tell you, you're going to go through a period, because I did, you're going to go through a period that says, oh my God, I'm mad all the time. Why am I in this, and do I really love him? Okay? Why am I in this, and do I really love him? If I am angry and I'm resentful and I'm bitter and I feel overwhelmed and I feel this, you're going to feel that. Don't worry about that right now. You're here because you love him. Or we wouldn't be here. So that's a good thing. Okay? We wouldn't be here. But it helps when you assign the anger, the bitter, the resentment to the cause and not to the person. Right? It helps when you do that. It helps when you assign that angry bitterness to the cause and not the person. That's a key. But as we continue, and tomorrow we're going to get so in depth, but we have to get the basics kind of out of the way right now. Then when you look at the symptoms and the signs and what they're going through and how you feel, we're going to look at letting things go that you can't control. Letting things go that you can't control. Right? I can't control his flashbacks. They come. I can't control the fact that he goes into a place. Right? I can't control the fact that he has anger and rage moments when he gets here. What I can do, one, I can stop taking away things he's accountable for. Because let me give you this whole other side of this. One of the number one feelings from PTSD is a sense of worthlessness. One of the number one signs, sense of worthlessness or brokenness. When we start taking everything away because it's easier just to do it, what are we doing to their sense of worth? What are we doing to their sense of worth? And I'll give you a prime example. Okay, so it's just Carl and I, so we don't have a dishwasher, and that's fine. I'm the dishwasher. It's great. Carl always puts the dishes away. I wash them, he puts them away. Well, if I'm in the kitchen cooking, and I'm just standing here like waiting to turn the meat or whatever, and the dishes are in the dish strainer, I will put them away. Right? As soon as he hears me, he comes in here and says, that's my job. I would have done that. And I'm like, but baby, I'm standing right here. And he says, but that's my job. And I didn't realize that me putting the dishes away took things from him. So if they're already feeling that sense of worthlessness and that sense of failure and that sense of brokenness, because it was easier for me to put them away. I mean, our kitchen is like a one-butt kitchen, okay? Like I can turn from the stove to the sink to the counter and never move my feet, okay? So it's just a little turn there. But me putting the dishes away took something from him. Because I knew, just like everybody else, that if I got ready to go in and cook dinner and I was going to wash up the dishes that as I was cooking and I went in and he was doing something or in a place and it happened once or twice, and so my assumption is, hey, it's just going to happen all the time, let me just handle this. If I went in and said, hey babe, I'm getting ready to, I've got the worksheet for this, babe, I'm finishing it up now. If I went in, right, and started to, if I went in and said, hey babe, I'm going to start dinner and I'm going to wash the dishes as I'm going, right? And I'm going to start doing the dishes. Do you mind coming and putting them away? I once or twice we had this blow up about, can I finish this first? Yeah, fine. But I want to do the dishes now. So learning patience is a big issue in this. But when you start taking things away from them, their worthlessness comes up. Right? And so you have to remember that. So do things, they're still accountable for a lot of things. They're accountable for things within their physical realm. They're accountable for things that they can do in their physical realm. And when we step in and we take this in and we do this for them, yeah, it is so true. But you've got to remember, you've got to know your veteran, and that's kind of where we are. That it's all very individual. But when we step in and take away things from them, that's why I say make your list. And we take away things from them that they can do. We're contributing to their worthlessness, and we're taking on their physical illness of PTSD. It's not our illness. We are there to live with it. And I can remember when my dad got cancer, and the doctor said to my mom, cancer is Lucas's illness, but it's your family's disease. And I didn't understand that till I went through this. My illness is mine. I have to own it. I'm the one who has to be responsible to take my pills. I'm the one who has to deal with the side effects from what happens. I'm the one who has to deal with all the things that come in with mine. But as a disease, it affects the whole family. As a disease, there are days I can't do something. Carl has to. As a disease, it affects everybody. You know, when you hear diagnosis and you hear words and you hear whatever, it affects my mom. It affects my mom when I go to my mom's house and she says, holy crap, she can't do what she used to do. So as a disease, it affects everybody. But the PTSD is their illness. You can't cure them. Because if you could cure them, none of us would be here because we'd be curing everybody. But it's a disease that affects all of us. And we have to learn to control and help the disease. We can do that. For me, if I want to go to town and I want Carl to go with me, I have to tell him first, hey, look, I want to go here and here today. Is that okay? Do you want to ride with me? Yep, he'll go. Because we have a plan, we have a schedule, and we don't deviate from those places. If we decide we're going somewhere else in the middle of this, or I decide we're going somewhere in the middle of it, we're done. We're done. He functions better off of a schedule. He functions better knowing we have a schedule. So when we do that, now we're good. And you know what happens when we stick to that schedule? When we go to the store, he holds my hand. When we talk, he holds my hand. We carry on a conversation. And it is like being out there. Roxanne, the counselors don't help us understand this because they don't know it. I'm just being honest. These people go to school, they get their degree, and they think everybody's the same, and they're not. You have to walk in our shoes to get it. And I'm just, that's what we do here. We walk in each other's shoes. I'm learning to see the insight from the veteran. That's why we're doing Vet Connects. That's why our counselors don't help us understand this. They don't get it. They're following a book, and it's got a list, and it's got a checkoff list, and that's what they follow. That's the truth behind it. So you can have those moments of husband back. You can have those moments of partner back. But in order to have those, you have to step out of the caregiver role and let them do what they can do. You have to step out of that. And is it going to be tough at times? Absolutely. But you have to determine giving them their sense of self-worth, giving them their sense of value, giving them their sense of stuff helps. And that's what happens. And when you learn to do that, you become their partner. Carl doesn't have my illness. He shares the disease process with me. I don't have Carl's PTSD. I share that disease process with him. I'm the one who's accountable to take my medicine. I'm the one who's accountable. Some of our veterans, I get it. They're not accountable. They don't realize the time that they need to take their medicine, and there has to be a friendly reminder. They don't remember to set up appointments, and that's a whole nother thing, the book of avoidance, that book of avoidance, and that's a whole nother topic, which, yeah. But we have to learn to navigate through this. We have to learn core value. The most important thing that's going to make your relationship survive is you go back every day and remember why you fell in love with them. And rather than look for the bad, take a few. I know, Roxy, I got it. She says, to be clear, the blah, blah, blah is when you're in the counselor appointment visit. You are. Go back to why you fell in love with them. Remember it every single day. Y'all know I have my victory wall here, which I don't do anymore. I have to put my victories in a file box. But take my little cards here, right? I have my little cards, and they are neon because I think my victories are so important. Neon. I write a victory every single time that happens on a card, and I have them in a pile, and I go back and I look at them, and I look at what victories we accomplished today, because those victories are part of what makes it whole. But why'd you fall in love with them? Always put that at your core. Why did you fall in love with them? There are moments in your day that love is there. Remember, anger, bitterness, resentment, frustration, those are all negative. And negative traits only come, they're the opposite of our positive traits, and they only come when we're exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally. So the only way to get by that is to go back and say, I loved him because. And I'm going to kind of end this today with that. Somebody asked for the worksheet and stuff and the written stuff. Y'all, yeah, those feelings, somebody's right, they're not going to get you anywhere. You have to change your mindset. And we ask, and I'm going to throw this out here one more time. So many people say, so many spouses say to me, I'm telling you, I've been kicked out of 5 groups. I'm so excited. We shouldn't be the one to change. Yeah, we should. Do you want the same thing to happen day after day after day after day after day? Nope. So if you start to make a change, they're going to see the change, because every action has a reaction. When we start to make the change, their reaction will become different. I had to change a ton of what I did. I still have to change a ton of what I did. I still have to do that on a regular basis. I still fail at doing it. Love you, babe. I still fail at what I'm doing. I do it and have to change that mindset. And then I have to take a step back. But that's where we are. I will get the written stuff out today. Right now, I think it's like 4 pages. There's a lot of it. But learning that you're their partner first and their caregiver second is a big deal. I go back to Nakia and what she goes through with her Richard. He has such physical things that have happened to him now, right? That she spends a lot of time being his caregiver. But if you ever heard her talk about him, it's my Richard. And she loves him deeply. And that love even though she's physically caring for him more. That emotional love is what gets her through. If you didn't read her points to ponder about going to see the Nativity and her being able to sing Silent Night with him, and she was the caregiver at that point, up until that point, she had to get somebody to help her get him up on the little hayride thing, and they had to hold him up. But she got to sit there with him and sing Silent Night. And at that moment, they were partners. So we can be both. Yeah, that is truly love and faith. Her stories are so inspiring to me. They are. There's a lot. There's a lot we have to do. But it's never too late. People say, where do I start? You start with your list. You start at the beginning. Why do you love them? Why did you love them? What made you fall in love with them? That's how we find where we're going. Start at the beginning. And you're soon going to see that everything else falls into place. Alright, so that was a little much, went on a little later. Y'all, we have so much. Girl, that is a memory I'm going to cherish forever, too. That's like I'm going to read it as my Christmas story. Because it was so inspiring and so loved. And I think when we live in a world, and we do, we live in a world sometimes with so much anger. Their anger, our rage. We live in a world with so much of that at times. That it's moments like that that make us happy. And those are the moments we look for. And those are the moments we live for. We're angry, we're raged, and I'm learning that it's not at my bedroom. Just so you know, I hate PTSD. I hate it. Okay? I hate it. And I'm no longer angry at Carl, I'm angry at PTSD. I'm putting the anger where it belongs. I'm putting my love where it belongs. My love is to my bedroom. My anger is to the PTSD. All right, ladies. I appreciate you. You're such an inspiring community of people. We have so much positive going on. Let me just kind of give you the quick rundown, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow. If you've not been to the website to sign up for the newsletter, please do. If you like these videos when they post, please, please, please review them, like them, share them if you have other friends, groups that need to hear them. Yeah, it is too bad we can't divorce PTSD, because that'd be like on my list. We are welcoming Stephanie. I'm so excited to our group. She's going to start on Wednesdays doing Wellness Wednesdays, and it's going to be about self-care, physical, mental, spiritual self-care, and how we take care of ourselves to get through this. So Stephanie will be doing that on Wednesdays. We're going to put a great timeline out of everything that's going on. We're going to have the book club starting next week. We have our whole series for the month of January planned. I'm interviewing the veterans today, a few of them for Vet Connect, so we will be able to talk to veterans and get some of their insight as well. Tuesdays, starting next week at 3 Eastern Time, we're going to have Lisa hosting on Zoom our midday break, so we can kind of just take a time and just talk about whatever makes us happy. Let's Talk will be back next week on Thursday. I can't wait. I feel like I miss my family, because the holidays have done made me miss my family that I'm such good with on our group here and our community. We are growing. Again, like, share it once these posts to the page. If they've helped you, leave us a comment, positive or negative. Do a review. It just kind of helps us know where we're going. Y'all have a blessed day. We'll get back at partner versus caregiver tomorrow. Um, and I think that is all I have for right now. I will see y'all tomorrow. This is Stacy. We're loving my veteran, and this has been Walking in My Shoes. Y'all have a blessed one.